the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and of course YouTube at the Team 980. You're getting, thankfully, just some lip syncing from Anthony Haney, not having to hear him actually sing.
Hey, hearing me sing isn't the worst thing ever, just saying.
It's not the worst thing ever. Like you could, I don't know, I was going to say some bunch of terrible things. I don't want to do that. You're not strength. You got a lot of strengths, Anthony. Singing's not amongst them.
You don't think so?
Do you?
I'm confident in my abilities.
To do what?
Sing.
Well?
See, you asking too many questions, Craig. One too many.
I know how to get to the bottom. Get to the bottom. Nothing gets past me, Mr. Journalism Man. Now I'm going to regret that statement instantly. Coming up on the show today, we got our latest reporter providing an update for the Terry McLaurin contract situation. Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. What do you say? We'll tell you coming up in just a few moments. That's where we start the show. Also, a story that we've kind of had on the back burner for a couple days that finally gets an avenue to escape to the front. We're going to mind it some attention. This story that ESPN and the NFL are now more than business partners. They have merged parts of their operations, and the NFL has taken an equity stake in ESPN. I got a couple thoughts on that. We're going to talk about that in 10 minutes. Also today, our guy, Travis Thomas. Travis going to join us coming up at 4:30. WEEI in Nesson in Boston. Of course, he was here at the Team 980 when he was in D.C. Now doing great work up there, and he was at the joint practice. Ben Standig was there as well. He joins us at 5. Never read the comments, 5:30. On down the list it goes. We'll also later this hour touch quickly on the Aaliyah Edwards trade today that the Mystics made. So we will get to that coming up at 4:45 after Travis before we get back to Standig at 5 o'clock. However, Anthony, I need you now to prepare the latest, very important Terry McLaurin. We need like a real sounder for this. Terry McLaurin non-update to update. Here's Jeremy Fowler this morning on ESPN's Get Up.
Terry's contract situation remains scary. They have been far apart. I'll put it this way. He has wanted metrics of the DK Metcalf contract, which is $32 million. I'm told the Washington Commanders have only been slightly above where he was before, which is $23 million. So take that gap. That's $7 or $8 million that they have to bridge. And Washington, I'm told, has gotten some calls about McLaurin. There's some interest league-wide. They have no interest in trading him still. So this is a classic standoff, which we're about to see.
Okay, a couple of things. One, that music is aggressive.
So loud, man.
Why is it so aggressive compared to his mic volume? I know it plays differently on TV than it does on the radio, but it can't be that differently. Why I just don't get it. More importantly, Fowler, math check. Anthony, I'm not great at math, but I think between the two of us, we can confirm this. And if we have to use a calculator, we will. He said that he wants DK's 32, which, depending on which DK number you look at, you can make DK's number 32. DK's 32, they're not offering more than his current 23, which is $7 million apart. Right? Isn't that what he said?
Yes.
How far apart are the numbers 32 and 23, Anthony?
I think 9.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think that's correct. So I want to know what's wrong with, like, which number did he mess up? A couple of things. Terry this year is scheduled to make $15.1 in base salary. His cap number is currently sitting at $24.1. That is the number I presume that Fowler is operating off. Oh, sorry, no, his cap number this year is 25.5. He has to make 15.5 this year. I was looking at the wrong one. So 25 and 32. Now we're talking $7 million apart. So he probably just had the 23 number wrong. It was probably 25. I also could see a situation where they don't really change his number very much this year and they add a couple years on, and that's the new money. Where they give him a nice base salary or some split of salary over the next 2 years and a decent signing bonus and whatever. How you want to slice it is kind of up to Adam Peters on the cap side of things. How much if it's guaranteed at signing, how much do you want to prorate? You put that in the signing bonus versus putting it in a base year contract that is whatever. I would imagine they probably just, and also it's worth mentioning, there's already $5.6 million of prorated signing bonus from his last deal on the books for next year. So whatever prorated signing bonus you have over this extension, you're adding that to this year's number, which is how this year's number is almost certainly going to go up unless it's an extension that starts next year. Or you are adding it to next year. I just have a hard time thinking that the Commanders are sitting at 25-5. I have a hard time thinking that the Commanders are just going to be obtuse about, like, yeah, Terry's eventually going to be in his 30s and they're very data-driven and all that stuff, but they also live in reality. They know how much they like the guy, and last year they saw what he could do, and he was one of the 10 best receivers in football. And I also do sometimes feel like I hear the argument coming from the team side that, well, it took Jaden Daniels to get here. Like, look at the best receivers in football. Who are their quarterbacks? Yes, Justin Jefferson has, like, he's on some level an exception. But also, like, when he was coming up, he had Kirk, and Kirk's not bad. Kirk, I mean, the year he hurt his Achilles in Minnesota, he was an MVP candidate that year. He was playing the best ball of his career. And then Jefferson last year obviously has a career year from Darnold. And if you want to say, okay, fine, it's Sam Darnold, like, and he's still the best or second best or third best in football, well, look at the system he's playing in. He's got Kevin O'Connell, one of the best OCs in the league. A guy who is seen as a quarterback whisperer and gets the most out of every offense, and they scheme up a bunch of stuff for JJ, and he takes full advantage because he's awesome. Jamar Chase plays with Joe Burrow. I don't need to explain that one. A.J. Brown's incredible. He also has a guy in Jalen Hurts that, while he has his limitations, he is exceptional at doing the things that A.J. Brown is also exceptional at. He will give him chances on deep balls, and that is a way that A.J. Brown has been incredible. And his yards per route run and, like, all these advanced stats tell you that A.J. Brown might be the best receiver in football because he's so damaging within an offensive system that has a good quarterback, a good quarterback who does what he does really well, exceptionally, and the league's best offensive line to make sure that he can get downfield and do said damage. So CeeDee Lamb, he's got Dak Prescott, who's very, 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 very good, was MVP caliber a couple of years ago. On down the list. The best receivers in football, the ones that we think of in terms of production, have great quarterbacks. There are then guys like Garrett Wilson, who you're like, I'm pretty sure that guy is awesome, but I don't know because he's played for the Jets. Like, if you put him on in Minnesota, how much different is he than JJ? I think JJ is better, but we don't fully know because he's played for the Jets. So I think the idea, like, that Terry is just some creation of the offense or of Jaden or whatever is clearly overstating it. I also, if I'm the team, I am saying, like, hey man, like, that's cool and all, but you're not one of the best 5. You're not one of the best 8. You're maybe you're one of the best 8, somewhere between like 7 and 12, and we'd like to pay you accordingly. But also you're 29, turning 30 basically as the season starts, and we're going to pay you according to that too. So we'll see where it goes. The two sides definitely are far apart. That seems to be the latest. And I get, giving Fowler a hard time, but it's like he's going to get asked on it because he's an insider on these shows. So there's your latest non-update update, is that the two sides are $7 million apart, with the team apparently wanting to pay Terry what he's getting this year. And that's the other thing too, is like, it feels like we're also comparing two different numbers in that reporting. The this year number, unless they want to make that his AAV over the next couple of years, in which case that feels a little bit low. It feels exceptionally low. If you listen to Joel Corey on our show yesterday saying he would be like, I'm not doing anything below the T. Higgins number at 28.7, I think is T's number. And the Terry side is obstinately stuck on this DK Metcalf 33, 32, whatever number it is that they're stuck on, and they're not budging at all. So another day, that's where we are. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio 2. And coming up next, the NFL Network and the NFL in general are now in business in a very different and significant way with ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, both in their self-proclaimed motto and, if we're being honest, in reality. So what's that mean for you as someone who watches the NFL and consumes news from ESPN? We'll discuss next on The Hoffman Show. Our old pal Travis Thomas joins us coming up at 4:30 here on the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, streaming on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. And if you miss any part of the show, make sure you check it out on YouTube or YouTube on demand at the Team 980 or the podcast. Just search the Hoffman Show wherever it is you get yours, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So monster news earlier in the week that if you're a sports fan, you should definitely care about. And frankly, if you're a person in the world, if I want to make this a much, much bigger existential deal. ESPN and the NFL, I've been in business a long time. If you've read any histories of ESPN of any length, you know that in the 1980s, when it started to acquire the rights to the NFL, it was the launch point for ESPN to go from this fledgling cable sports network with a bunch of random stuff on it and a couple of nice like properties. College basketball, obviously, it's synonymous. The early days of ESPN with the Big East Conference. May it rest in peace in any semblance of a thing that I recognize because I'm old now. Because Anthony, I went to school at Syracuse University in the Big East.
I know.
You went to school at Syracuse University in
the ACC.
Yeah, you did. But it was the mid to late 80s when the rights to NFL games and like NFL Primetime is born and the Schwami and the whole deal. And then eventually they get games and they get Sunday Night Football, which I think followed. It was those were either simultaneous or it was very closely after. So the NFL and ESPN have been in business, and it has been arguably the biggest part of ESPN's business for a long, long time. But that is very different than the league having a literal equity stake in the media company. And now that is what we are going to see. The ESPN and the NFL announced 2 simultaneous agreements the other day. The short version is NFL media, large portions of it. NFL.com is not going to be there. So like the website, the team sites, like all those are still going to exist under the NFL. But NFL Network, Red Zone, some of the other NFL properties are now going to exist under the ESPN umbrella. This was big for ESPN because they're launching this direct-to-consumer product. You've probably seen a lot of the commercials of like the future of sports. They are calling it ESPN, which is smart, not the ESPN app, not ESPN3, not ESPN. It's just like download ESPN. Good branding. Good call on that. And so you go to this app on your Apple TV or your Roku or your Fire Stick or on your phone or whatever, and you'll be able to watch it by paying a certain amount, even if you don't have cable. I think it's going to be like $30 a month, and you can get all the ESPN channels, all the ESPN like digital only. Like if you're a soccer fan and you want to watch the Scottish Division game or whatever, like I know, Anthony, you ever open the ESPN app and you're like, wow, there's a lot of games here. And so sometimes it's like college football games too. In fact, a lot of Syracuse games wind up there. ESPN Plus, that's what it's called, yeah. Right? So you can get all the ESPN Plus, but you'll also be able to watch NFL Network and Red Zone, and Red Zone might be an add-on, but like it's a good business move in that way for the NFL. I think the big questions for a consumer that I would have are, one, how is this going to affect the product? And Anthony, you had a big concern when it comes to Red Zone in a second. But also, like, what does this do to the news reporting, right? If NFL Network or if ESPN is 10% owned by the National Football League and you're Adam Schefter, how does that affect your job? How does that affect how you report on the league? And I would say even more so, this is the one I'm watching, is how does someone like Don Van Natta do his job, right? Don, the GOAT or investigative reporter who has done a ton of work on the NFL, who Roger Goodell cannot stand. In a cartoon world, like Don would be like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy in them, and Roger Goodell's, reeling on, well, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those rascally kids. It's like the NFL's like, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for Don Van Natta. And whether it's Kalen Kaler or Seth Wickersham or any of his writing partners over the years. So I want to make sure that those jobs are safe because those are really important. Like, journalism is super duper important. And I understand that we have entered a new phase now, right? Yes Network, I feel like, was one of the really first big ones where, like, okay, the Yankees own Yes Network. We understand that. But I think it's wholly different for a league, like teams having their own extended media universes. I've just accepted that. But and even leagues having their own network where it's like, yeah, it's the NFL Network. But this would be like, I don't even want to make other comparisons. It's just, it'd be like whoever's in charge of the stock market owning CNBC. It's like, that doesn't work. you need to have some level of independence. And I think it's really kind of interesting that there's now this whole new world of independent media with Substacks and like all these other things that are out there to report on these entities that traditional news outlets used to report on, but don't as much anymore or aren't trusted to anymore because now they are literally financially invested in or owned by the same groups of people. And so whether it's, Paramount, who owns CBS and a bunch of other stuff, NBC Universal, Comcast is like this enormous company with a bunch of different tentacles. The Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos. So, like, are they supposed to, Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. Like, you need to be able to report on a company of that size. How do Washington Post reporters feel covering news about Amazon? Like, it's a weird, clearly we're not in a great spot in journalism. But I think this is, in the sports world, one of the more significant lines we've crossed. And I'm very eager to see how much independence is maintained from ESPN. And frankly, Anthony, does ESPN care? Because I think ESPN has leaned quite a bit into the E at the start of their name. They are the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network. And the entertainment factor has certainly usurped the journalism. They don't have the shows that did the journalism anymore, and they've laid off many of the journalists in favor of, Stephen A. Smith and other talking heads like that. So I don't know, man. Like, part of this is just a giant lament of the loss of an industry. But it's also, I think, something that our listeners who are football fans should know what they're watching and should have a keen eye and a close eye on what happens between the NFL and ESPN over the years to come.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I definitely was a little upset about the NFL red zone news.
Yeah, Anthony's like, you're upset about journalism in the state of the world. I'm mad that there's going to be commercials during red zone.
There are, man. Like Scott Hansen, like he's going to be interrupted. But no, I think to your point, though.
No, I want you to make your point. I made my point. I want you to make your point.
I think your point is also valid, though. But I think just going over to, I guess what us consumers, love and appreciate about, NFL Network was the fact that, Red Zone was its own little entity and it did its own little thing. And Scott Hansen did a fantastic job. So,
I mean, he's still going to do it.
Yeah, but will it still have the same effect? I guess it will.
Like, I wonder, like, this is the same thing inside the NBA. Like, they're going to be on ESPN now. Are they going to still, like, I want Ernie Johnson. I want it to be so similar to the TNT show that Ernie Johnson says, this is the Inside the NBA on TNT on ESPN.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want him to say. I know that's not how it's going to work. They'll probably just say it's Inside the NBA, and they're not going to say ESPN. Yeah. Or if they do, Charles will, like, yell something inappropriate every single time. I want it to look the same. And, like, I think this is something, too. This is a social media rant for a different day. Like, did you see Instagram launched a repost feature?
So I haven't updated mine, but I'm going to do it in the break.
Updated.
Oh.
So basically, like, you can repost stuff. I don't want that. Like, Instagram was great because I could follow my friends and see, like, what's going on. Like, when Anthony goes on vacation, I want to see Anthony's vacation photos. Like, that's what Instagram was, and that's what made it great. And now it's a bunch of meme accounts all posting the same 3 memes. And, like, now I'm going to get people reposting other people's stuff. Like, no. The collaboration,
that's
fine.
Nasty.
Yeah, like, that's ridiculous. And so, like, all these social media networks have tried to become what they're not.
Yeah.
That drives me bananas.
Stay in your lane.
Yes. That. TikTok doesn't need to be Instagram, which doesn't need to be Twitter, which doesn't need to be whatever else. Like, do your thing.
Yeah.
Freaking gigantic companies trying to all be everything at once.
I definitely don't want to update my Instagram now. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's going to do it for you eventually. Might as well
yeah.
get it over with.
You're right.
Anyway, Travis Thomas was at joint practice yesterday up in New England. The former DC Sports Radio host who Anthony knows very well, and so do I. He joins us next on the Hoffman Show. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. Streaming as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio now as well, YouTube at the Team 980. And it's time to welcome in one of our former colleagues at the Team 980. In a weird roundabout way, I replaced this guy when he left and went to New England. But now we get to bring him back because he was in New England. He was at joint practice yesterday. Travis Thomas, what up, my guy?
What's up, brother? Hey, man, I don't even look at us as colleagues or replacement or any of that nonsense. We're family, man. It's always good to hear from you.
Hey, I'll take that any day of the week. It is great to have you on the show. And you were at joint practice yesterday. Of course, Travis, now with Nesson and WEEI up in the New England area, up in Boston, and you were out there. So just like when you left practice, you walked away, whether it was a Patriots thing or a Commanders thing. Like, what's the thing that you were, as you're walking to your car, being like, okay, that's the thing I can't stop thinking about?
Oh, man. I mean, it was obviously the quarterback situation. You know, everybody from that practice is talking about all the fights and how Mike Vrabel jumped in a fight. And up here in town, everyone's talking about Jason Tatum was at that practice walking around without a boot. There were a ton of storylines. But, look, I came into that practice looking for Jaden Daniels against Drake May because those two, I think that entire quarterback class are going to be attached at the hips for their entire careers, for better or for worse. And so I wasn't disappointed. I mean, Jaden Daniels, I don't need to talk to anyone there about how great he is, and he looks every bit of it. I did get some insight. I knew a little bit about the virtual reality stuff, but I didn't know how deep it was, so I got a ton of insight on that in terms of how Jaden Daniels prepares. But I was really impressed with watching Drake May against Jaden Daniels. I was looking at every rep, every throw, compare and contrast. That's what I do for a living. I'm a loudmouth to talk about this kind of stuff. And I was really impressed with Drake May. I thought, you know, obviously Jaden Daniels, as I have called it, has a head start because of his supporting cast. You guys finally got some good ownership down there, good front office, good coaching. And so all of it came together. New England right now is in that process. I mean, you know, Drake May's rookie year was an absolute nightmare in terms of coaching with Gerard Mayo and that failed experience. But now with Mike Vrabel, you know, the front office has it together. They made some wholesale changes. They did get him some talent to surround him and Stephon Diggs and others. And Drake May looked every bit of the part that he belonged on the field, at least, with Jaden Daniels. I would not have said that last season for obvious reasons. So that was my biggest takeaway was, damn, both of these quarterbacks, I already knew Jaden Daniels, but both of these quarterbacks belong together. You know, Drake May belongs in that same class. Now he's got to go out and put the results behind it. But in terms of talent, they're right there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting thing to watch over their careers. And I said this, I don't remember if I said this on the air somewhere or just talking to somebody over the last 24 or 36 hours of like, there's a chance that 5 years from now, these two are the best two quarterbacks in the league. And so the idea that like, I think Commanders fans are ready to come up there and probably throw things at your house because if you dare put anybody in the same sentence as Jaden outside of like the big four these days, I think people are already like, what are you doing? And obviously, like you said, Drake has to do it on the field. But what is it about May that you find so compelling? And then what are the areas that you think Daniels is still ahead at this point where Drake's got some catching up to do besides just proving it on Sundays in the fall?
It's funny because the answer to both of those questions we heard on draft night, and it's true still now, a year into both of their careers, which was Drake May physically, athletically, is gifted. He can make all the throws from every platform. He can throw a football over those mountains. He's sneaky fast. He's all these things, right? And, you know, obviously we know all those things about Jaden Daniels rings true as well. The difference was Jaden Daniels had more experience in college, had been around, played in different systems. He was more pro-ready, okay? And he was more prolific in college. He was a better college player, no question about it. With Drake May, it was on draft night, it was more of he's a raw piece of clay that needs to be molded and put together and built. And it's funny, now we look a year later, and I still, watching them head to head, I have the same takeaways. I mean, Jaden Daniels is smooth as all hell. He is jazzed. He is just, everything's put together. There's no bad notes. There were times, I'll tell you a quick sidebar before I get to Drake May. There were times during this joint practice where I was talking to the Commanders reporters and saying, like, I don't feel like he's working that hard. And they said, well, it's just second nature at this point, and the Commanders don't push him physically as hard as you would think. They push him more in the mental aspect. And then that's when I learned about the VR stuff and how he watches virtual reality tape at a faster speed than normal even. And him and Cliff Kingsbury have some weird type of mad scientist things that they do together in terms of watching film and preparation for defenses. So I'm learning about this with Jaden Daniels. They are pushing him mentally. That's not the case here in New England. You're pushing Drake May mentally, yes, but you're also dependent on him physically for so many things. And so watching the joint practice yesterday and then watching the evolution of Drake May that I've seen with thine eyes over the last year, I see now, okay, it's not just all physical. Drake May in his rookie year, man, his offensive line sucked. He had no weapons. The coaching staff weren't even grown-ups, for God's sakes. No one had any experience in this, and it looked like it. And he got by. They won 4 games, and he got by on athleticism. Raw, pure dog. And he delivered. Now I'm seeing more structure and more nuance to his game. And you saw it yesterday. He was throwing absolute darts in that. And so, look, I think now this season, we're going to see the maturation of Drake May, and you could see more Jaden-esque type results from Drake May.
Travis Thomas, Nesson, WEI up in Boston with us here on the Hoffman Show. How has that Patriots offense looked in general this camp, Travis? Because the Commanders' defense has played very, very well, and I think that there's some questions about how much of that is what they've been able to do and grow and build versus Terry McLaurin isn't practicing, Noah Brown's been in and out, and while Jaden has still been spectacular, Debo's made plays, Zach Ertz has made plays, the rest of the Commanders' receiving core, there's real questions there. So how much of the defensive, I don't know if I'll go as far as excellence, but goodness has been Commanders' offense not being what it's going to be in the regular season. So as we see the Patriots have a good day offensively yesterday, how does that compare to the days they've been having all camp long?
Well, look, it's funny. Your audience is used to rebuild. And now finally you're in a place where it's like, okay, we've arrived. Let's go kick some butt. I mean, you were a bad quarter away, I would argue, from being in the Super Bowl. So, it's a whole different vibe now. But Commanders fans remember what it was like when it was rebuild. Now in New England, obviously the people here are struggling with the reality of that the dynasty is over. But at the same time, they're far removed now. Belichick's gone. Brady's been gone. It's like, all right, we get it. Now we want to start seeing some results. I think it's that stage, Craig. I think, like, realistically speaking, the offensive line, look, there was nowhere to go but up after the last 2 seasons with this offensive line. The Patriots' offensive line will be improved, but it's not going to be good. Stephon Diggs is an upgrade for what this team has had at wide receiver for the last 2 years. He's good, but he's not prime Stephon Diggs. This ain't Buffalo Stephon Diggs, and he's coming off a major injury at his age. So, yeah, it's an upgrade, but it ain't great. Drake May was raw last year, as I told you, but he didn't have a supporting cast around him. Well, I can already see growth in him from what I've seen in camp so far, but at the same time, he doesn't have the greatest show on turf around him. So, like all this stuff is incremental steps, and I'm sure Commanders fans remember that. So this is really where the Patriots are. I think they will be improved. Craig, the best bet you can make right now, it always comes back to gambling for me. The best bet you can make right now is to bet the Patriots over on their win total. They're going to double that. They won 4 games the last 2 years. This is likely a 9-8, 8-9, 7-10-ish football team, okay? So they're going to be improved. Up here in New England, we'll be excited to finally have a pro product to look at, something that doesn't make you want to puke your chowder every Sunday. So that's cool. But they're not, I see a lot of people giving them 10, 11 wins, and they're going to be the sleeper playoff giant. I'm not there, and I'm here, and I'm watching this team every day. I think they'll be improved, but there's still some very important steps. So I would say probably a really good offseason, meaning draft class and free agency. Hey, Craig, this team has the most cap space in the league. So I think likely a very good draft and a very good free agent class away from being a bona fide playoff team. But I do think the Patriots, if you want to gamble on them this year, you can make a lot of money. They'll cover spreads, and they're going to win more games than you may think.
Travis Thomas with us here on the Hoffman Show. Taking more about what he saw at practice yesterday. So, Travis, there was a couple of plays where Laramie Tunsil proved that he's still Laramie Tunsil that we heard about. Just generally watching yesterday, like, would you say that Tunsil was the best player on the field on either team that you saw?
I didn't get too much into the line play. A lot of the talk up here in town was Morgan Moses, obviously, who your audience knows very well, and you know very well for his years there in Washington. And, I didn't watch. I saw a couple tweets where it was like, the Patriots defensive line did this or did that against the Commanders' O-line. Tunsil pancake a couple people I saw. And I know Morgan Moses did a good job. I could care less about the line. I'll be honest with you. I was watching the quarterbacks, and I didn't see a ton of duress at all for Jaden Daniels. But I took a lot of that as I said, he's just so smooth. He's hot knife through butter. He just looks so intentional with the football. Like, there is no, how the talk in Chicago right now is, well, Caleb has to get out of playing hero ball, and he just has to stick to Ben Johnson's ball. Like, the thing about Jaden that amazes me, and I've been covering camps forever, bro. Like, I've been doing this for years. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks. I don't know if I've ever seen one as calm as him. And this comes across in games as well. I mean, we see him every Sunday. But even in practice, bro, he's so in command. So I didn't necessarily watch it thinking Tunsil was dominating. I just watched it like Jaden's just smooth. Of course he has time because he's getting rid of it. But yes, from that standpoint, the line looked very good. Whereas Drake May was under duress a few times, but we're used to seeing that here. And he still was making plays, and we're used to seeing that. But, I don't – look, man, one of the reasons you love me is because I'm wild, crazy, obnoxious, and loud, and I'm a degenerate. I don't ever pretend to be some sort of offensive line connoisseur. When we start breaking that nonsense, I've left the chat.
I don't know. Can you find? Are there even O-line like props you could find? Like, can you find someone to take like an over/under pancake block, or is that too far down the rabbit hole for you?
Listen, brother, you can bet on anything with this stuff. I'm not interested. There are certain things I feel like I'm an expert at, and I'll bet on that. Offensive line and even defensive line, anything in the trenches. I'm not semi-athletic. I was nowhere near the trenches.
Not a trenches
I was a
guy.
receiver. Yeah, dude, I was a receiver and a safety. I got nothing to do with the trenches. I respect it, though.
Of course. Who cannot respect the trenches? Got to respect the trenches. Just don't have to participate down there. Travis Thomas, you can watch him. He's a pretty TV boy out there playing wide receiver and safety. He also does radio. Nesson, WEEI, up there in Boston. Trav, always great to chat, my guy. Appreciate the time during a busy time of the calendar, and we'll catch you soon.
You know it, brother. Always a pleasure, man. Anytime you need me, I'm there.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Hoffman Show, Team 980, live on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Ben Standig, probably less than 10 minutes. Ben Standig, today's Not My Beat, as he looks back at yesterday's joint practice. He was up there in New England, and then looks ahead to tomorrow with us, and really the rest of training camp, preseason, and what we're looking for moving forward. But, Anthony, real quick, the Mystics make a trade today. They, ahead of the W's trade deadline, move Aaliyah Edwards, who, man, I was so excited for Aaliyah this year. And I think we have to be able to have a couple of thoughts in our head at once around this trade, that this is probably the best thing for the organization. It's probably the best thing for Aaliyah, and we can also be sad about it because Aaliyah is such an outstanding person. And we've had the chance to have her on the show quite a bit. I had her in the offseason on my W Sports stuff, and we had a great bit. I still need to get, and we will still get the jersey signed from her in Unrivaled. She had such an outstanding winter at Unrivaled, but unfortunately, she got to camp, was hurt, and this new young kid comes in, Kiki Iriefin, and oh my God, she's amazing. And so basically what happened was, she got Wally pipped. And I hate that for Aaliyah. But I think if you're Aaliyah, you look at the situation and you go, Kiki's clearly established herself. She's going to be the power forward here for as long as, you can imagine. And if I'm Aaliyah and I want to have the chance to spread my wings a little bit, I would probably do what she did, which is approach the team. And The Athletic reported this yesterday, and I was able to independently confirm it. She approached the team and, earlier in the season was basically like, hey, I'm going to work my butt off as long as I'm here. I'm going to compete. I'm going to do everything. But if you find a deal for me, I'm not going to be mad about it. You can trade me. And I think it's really important in the WNBA to have that buy-in, because it's not like the NBA where it's like, hey, bro, sorry, we traded you and your $20 million contract. She's on a rookie deal making probably $70,000, $80,000 a year. That's not her big money came from Unrivaled. Her big money comes from Adidas. And the way you treat people in the WNBA matters a lot more, especially in a summer coming where the whole entire league that's veterans are free agents. And so I think that it all seemed really healthy. Everyone around the team had nothing but amazing things to say about Aaliyah all the way through. They eventually find the deal, and they wind up getting back in the deal a guard, which is better for the roster balance, in J.C. Sheldon. And Sheldon was actually the player taking one spot before Edwards. Now, I do think it's, unfortunately, I think ultimately a lot of people are going to be like, well, those are the two players that got taken ahead of Angel Reese. But, if you take Angel 2 years ago, do you wind up with Kiki now? Probably not. And I'm perfectly fine with Sonia and Kiki moving forward. So it kind of worked out in the end. But I do think that, unfortunately, that's what some people will think of. I don't know that that's entirely fair to Aaliyah or to the organization. Also, that was a Tebow's decision, and they're now no longer here. Who knows with what Jamila Weideman would have done if she was in charge at the time. But yeah, that's kind of why this trade went down. It's good for Aaliyah. They're able to do something good to get her in a better place where she's going to have way more opportunity. And by the way, it's in Connecticut where she went to school, so she's got some star power up there, which will be nice. She'll be welcome with open arms. And it provides another option at point guard for a team that's still searching for one. Obviously, they hope that they took the point guard of the future in Georgia Amore, last year. But I even think Georgia and JC could probably play together long term, especially if Sheldon continues to shoot the ball well. She's shooting it over 40% from three here in her sophomore season.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Craig. You beat me to it. My question was definitely going to be centered around the Angel Reese aspect of it in terms of whether or not, I guess the T-Boats got that decision right or wrong, respectively. But
yeah, I mean,
they're not here, so.
Independently, if you look at it, clearly the best player of Sheldon, like the three players we're talking about here, Sheldon, Edwards, and Reese, is Reese. Not even close. The way Angel has emerged as a two-time All-Star, and some of that based off popularity and the way the voting works, absolutely, but also she's the WNBA's leading rebounder by 3 rebounds a game. Her playmaking skills are really good. She's a very good basketball player. I think she's peculiar to build around as the centerpiece of a team potentially, but if you tell me I can have Reese or or Iriofin and Citron, not like I think every team in the league would be like, give me the two. You know, the two rookies who just made it. And
Nah, for sure, but I'm just saying,
you
like,
don't get the two picks. You don't get the two of them without the one. So, like, I think to answer the question, I think more directly and not tiptoe around it, did they make the right decision at the time? Probably not. Did it work out in the end? Hell yeah, it did. And so Mystics fans, like, you can be very happy about that, I think, moving forward, because it definitely big time worked out. And by the way, it directly involving Chicago, because the Ariel Atkins trade, that third overall pick that they got back, was turned into Sonia Citron, who I think of all the players we're talking about is probably the best one moving forward.
Yeah.
So with all of that said, we get back to the football next. Ben Standig joins us to talk about joint practice yesterday in New England and the preseason game to follow tomorrow. was an oldie but goodie, Anthony. Very dated at this point.
Man, I forgot about it.
Back in the day, you're just like, let me see what this old Standing Wood is. When Ben used to co-host the show with us, and the Commanders stink. Now Ben's got a Substack that's great that you should subscribe to. He's doing his thing covering the team, and the team is good. Let's talk about it in Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
The Last Man Standig is where you can go. Check it out on Substack. Subscribe for the one and only Ben Standig's Commanders coverage. Ben, what's up, my guy? How are you?
Craig, I am doing well. Yeah, the world has changed a lot since I was joining you and Anthony in studio. Well, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. I also just realized on the YouTube stream, I got to change your graphic. I got to get the Substack in the graphic. So I'll work on that as you answer my questions here. Or people can just stare at my face blankly, staring into the camera as I ask you, or as you answer the questions that I ask you. But as you left, I'll start off here, Ben. This is the question I've asked everyone that I've talked to that was at practice yesterday. Like, as you're leaving Foxborough, down that one winding road that gets you out of that place, what's the kind of prevailing thought you had heading out of that joint practice yesterday?
I mean, bigger picture, I think they were fine. The defense, I think, had some moments. They were also, picked apart a little bit by Drake May. I think Jaden Daniels did his thing, but the receiver room showed its weaknesses without Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown in there. So, I think, as far as we know, no injury. So all that, relatively good. Get a test for your guys against another team. But, at the same point, some of the concerns, particular receiver, it puts an emphasis on the guy who is not there, as we know, in Terry McLaurin. And I think that was probably the biggest takeaway, I think, for most of us. Even if we know he's going to be back at some point, or we assume that, until he is, this is the group we're looking at. It was not the best day.
So, in theory, Ben, that should give McLaurin some leverage, because it's like, hey, Adam, like, you saw practice. You know that this isn't going great without me. In reality, with where these two sides are and how dug in it appears they are, like, does it actually move the needle at all?
I'll probably say it probably doesn't. Just because we think that, doesn't mean that the team thinks that. If Noah Brown is out there, which, admittedly is a question because of his injury history, and he's dealing with his knee issue right now, he's not a go-to receiver, but okay, it makes the room a little bit better if you have him out there with Deebo Samuel. Now maybe if you have, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, you swing Eckler out, you have two tight ends. Like, you can, manufacture a few things here and there as needed. It's just, without McLaurin, you don't have that obvious deep threat. And, but I don't know that Adam Peters is going to change his tune, whatever exactly that tune is. If they start the year, say they lose to the Giants unexpectedly, and then fall at Green Bay on that Thursday and they're 0-2, I think that's where, okay, we don't have enough receiver right now, clearly, and that we're falling into a hole. We got to do something. But until something dramatic like that, I don't really know that it's going to move the needle.
Ben Standig with us. Check out his Substack, Last Man Standig, for all of his coverage. He's doing live chats. He's doing podcasts, as well as the written content there. Just one more quick one on McLaurin. How long do you think he needs to ramp up? Like, one, we don't know the severity of the ankle injury, but then there's Dan Quinn's constant refrain of, like, we won't skip steps. So how long does he need to be in camp or in practice, if we've switched over to that mode, before he is ready to play in a regular season game?
I feel like this is a better question for somebody who might be a personal trainer. But, look, obviously, here's the thing that's kind of always it's getting more and more confusing as we go into these preseasons. Obviously, the players who are there in practice, or at least, they're getting the reps in practice. They did it again yesterday. But, unless they're playing in the game, as I've heard former players say, it's hard to prep for football if you don't play football. So at a minimum, there's like, hey, are you going to get on the field for a game? If not, he could, it could be tough just kind of going in cold. But even just getting in for practices, at least that's getting your body used to, doing the movements, doing the activity, running full speed at times, things like that. But, without getting hit, I wonder for a lot of these guys, how quickly are they going to get acclimated? That's why we've seen the last couple of years in the NFL, teams either start out slow or just the play itself doesn't look always great, until maybe 2 or 3 weeks get into this. So I don't know. I mean, it seems to me if he's not in at this point, I'm kind of saying if he's not in there by the Ravens joint practice, so that's the Bengals game is on the 18th and the Ravens comes shortly thereafter. If he's not there by that, I think we're not a point of no return, but a point where we're in the red, where things are starting to get concerning. If he's back in the next few days, even if he doesn't play in the Bengals game, then it's probably not that big of a deal. The first game isn't until early September. You still have a few weeks to get going, and I imagine Terry is in good shape. I know he's on the PUP list with his ankle injury, but something tells me if he signed a contract tomorrow, we'd see him on the practice field immediately. So I don't know about that ankle, but sooner the better, I guess I would say would be ideal.
No, for sure. And I will answer my own question then, since you set me up so nicely at the start of that answer. From like the physiological training side of it, the things I would be worried about are less like the contact element. Yeah, there are definitely, if you talk to NFL guys, like there's a callousing that happens that's more important, I think, on the inside than the outside. But I think the biggest thing is how much high speed running has he done? Like especially considering his route tree and the tempo of this offense, can he not necessarily pass the basic conditioning test, but can he do enough high-speed running where his hamstrings aren't at risk? And depending on what he's doing right now and how severe or not that ankle injury is, he might actually be doing some of that right now and maybe even a lot of it. So he might be able to jump right in and kind of be fine. If he's not doing that, that's going to be a ramp-up period. Obviously, then taking contact and running through contact is another adjustment period. But I think given Terry's fitness and given his position, he can hopefully make that a little bit quicker. They won't skip steps, but there won't be too many steps to skip. So that would be how I answered that if I had a Substack, Ben. Ben Standig with us here on the Hoffman Show. Okay, when you look at the receiver room down chain, and I feel like we just generally throw out like, hey, this isn't going great, and then we skip to like who's going to be wide receiver 6, and we kind of skip over who is actually wide receiver 4. When you look at Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey, the two guys most likely, or if you want to include like a Michael Gallup or anyone else that you want to throw in this mix, Ben, like who else besides Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Deebo Samuel do you think plays significant wide receiver snaps in 2025 if everyone's healthy for the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen in training camp, Jalen Lane has looked pretty good. I know one of my concerns, not concerns, but I was like, hey, I'd like to see him. Can he make plays down the field? Because looking at the Virginia Tech highlights, it's not really a lot of those because they didn't have particularly good QB play and offense in general. There was a lot of get the fast guy the ball as soon as possible and let him go from there. And Cliff Kingsbury kind of said as much, in terms of wanting to see what this kid could do. Well, we've seen Jalen Lane in practices make plays down the field. So that part seems to be good. He even made one of the better catches in practice where he jumped over 2 defensive backs in the back of the end zone to make the play. Maybe he technically had a foot out of bounds when he came down, but close enough for these purposes. But he's mainly a slot guy, and that's where Deebo Samuel is going to work out of a lot. So it's not that you can't use them both. It's just that they're not necessarily like the fourth receiver in my head would typically be somebody you'd want on the outside. And I don't know who that person is. Ideally it would be Luke McCaffrey. And I know Cliff Kingsbury said the other day he's happy with the progress McCaffrey's made. From what we can see, he's having a hard time creating separation on the outside. And, that's going to prevent him from being out on the field, even if Noah Brown or misses time, what have you. Then there's the Michael Gallup and Chris Moore and KJ Osborne level. I mean, Chris Moore was out there with the ones a bit yesterday. He's 32. I just don't see there being a lot of upside here. Michael Gallup, he was retired last year because of injuries, has come back. He's a professional receiver. He's polished. But again, in terms of like a pretty decent sized role, I just don't know if I see it right now. Plus, he doesn't play special teams, so that makes it harder to keep him. And KJ Osborne, kind of like last year, where he came in after really a bad year with the Patriots, bad half year, comes to Washington, doesn't really play at all. And he's had a moment or two in camp like everybody kind of does, but he, again, has been relatively quiet, and I haven't seen enough to say, boy, he's refound his stride that he had earlier on in his career with the Vikings. So you look at all that and you're like, man, I really don't know what to think of this. If you told me that, wide receiver 5 or 6 is currently playing on another team, just like Noah Brown was last year, I wouldn't be floored by that. If you tell me they only keep 5 receivers in general, counting McLaurin, that wouldn't surprise me either. If they want to keep an extra running back or tight end or what have you. So I don't know. To me, I'm just concerned about that room because they don't have I don't see the athletic upside there, where at least look, De'Ami Brown last year, none of us were going, oh, look at this guy. He's going to get a $10 million contract when the season's over. But we knew he had speed. We knew he could make plays downfield. The very first play that Jaden Daniels made in preseason last year was a 41-yard bomb to De'Ami Brown on an audible. And that was a sign of what was to come to a degree. I just don't know right now who that guy would be here. Maybe it's one of the younger guys, a Ja'Cory Brooks or someone like that. But this is going to be a really interesting game to see if any of these vets can stand out and show that they're really worthy of a high depth chart spot.
That Noah Brown point is so good, and I hadn't thought enough about that yet. That every once in a while we kind of throw away, say oh well, all these teams are going to make cuts, and there'll be the 53 that's named on the cut day won't be the same as the 53 that opens the season. It's let that sink in for a second, that there will be other signings made. That's a great point. Ben Standig with us here on the Hoffman Show. When you look on the other side of the ball, Ben, at the defensive line, how did they do yesterday in the joint practice? I feel like we've talked a lot about the secondary, and there's now the, how much better is, or how good do we think it actually is, because they kind of struggled compared to what they've done in Ashburn, and we just talked about the receiver room, all that. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. Maybe we'll run out of time. I want to focus on the D-line first. How did the D-line play yesterday against that Patriots O-line?
Yeah, so I'm going to be, super honest, as having been out of these joint practices.
You were on the other field and you have no idea. So I gave you that big long setup, and then I put you in a terrible spot. I just threw you over it's 2004, and I just threw you over the middle into Junior Seau.
No, I mean, look, when Jaden Daniels is on the field, you're going to watch the offense, right? Which is also the same time that the first team defense is probably going up against Drake May. Then when there were the more individual drills, they were taking place at the far end of the field. So even with binoculars and watching what I could, context is not always so great. I mean, I know they felt pretty good about that. Dietrich Wise after the game said he thought that they played pretty good physical brand of football, and that's, of course, what they're looking to accomplish. I could see Von Miller still showing he's got that good bend coming around the edge. But, I can't sit here and tell you Deron Payne dominator, Johnny Newton, looked a lot better. But, look, obviously I think they have more depth in general on the line. And, even if they don't have an obvious, say, Pro Bowler, I think they have more confidence in their top 8 or 9 guys that they can use. So, I think that is all positive. And, where I was seeing New England get the better of Washington was mostly in the passing game. Even in the 11s that I could see, I didn't, I wasn't I was seeing Travion Henderson get big runs or things like that. So to that end, I think it was positive, but I'd be lying if I told you I have a definitive thought that the line is much better or worse or what have you.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then. Who are the guys in that group who you want to keep a real keen eye on tomorrow night in the game? So we're knocking out Von Miller, we're knocking out Dietrich Wise, we're knocking out Deron Payne. Those guys aren't going to play. So are there D-line spots up for grabs? And if so, who are you watching there?
Yeah, I mean, look, Javonte Jean-Baptiste is one of the players that didn't make the trip. So he's out for tomorrow, and he's one of the guys who I would say is, sort of on that bubble group. I think Jacob Martin's interesting. They signed him this offseason. And he's been a guy who's played a bit in the league. He's actually, I think, the third oldest defensive lineman, besides, I think, not named Von Miller or Dietrich Wise. I think they're the only 2 that are older. But he's been productive. But now that you have Von Miller and you have some of these other pieces, does he really have a role here? If he can be effective tomorrow, I think that goes a long way towards keeping him. I think Jalen Holmes was a guy who was effective last year when he played. Mostly on the end, can play a little inside, but boy, it's going to be tough for him to make this team. Sheldon Day is another guy as well, and maybe it's not a big of a deal, or maybe maybe they take advantage of Baptiste out and make these plays. But, if they can shine, it'll be a lot harder for them to be on the wrong side of the bubble. But right now, if they're keeping 9 defensive linemen, I don't know how those guys are making the team exactly. So I think some of those guys will be the ones, if I also would just say this goes for any position. If there are players who are playing in this game that you're kind of like, I would have thought he was a lock. I don't mean the younger players. Like I could see all the rookies playing, but some veteran, the way Jahan Dotson played deep into the first half last year, when you're like, wait, why is he out there? That's a sign that maybe they're more in trouble than we think. So I think that's the other thing to look at, whether that's on the defensive line or any spot.
That's a great point. Ben Standig with us here on the Hoffman Show. Again, check out his Substack. Last Man Standig is where you can get it. That's also access to his podcast, which you can also just get through your podcast apps, et cetera, et cetera. Perhaps the thing I'm most excited about for tomorrow night, Ben, is the linebacker play, because Bobby and Frankie aren't going to play. So that leaves, I don't know, a half, 3/4 probably for Dominique Hampton and Keim to go out there and run around, and let's see what they can do. What are your early impressions of those two guys and how they fit in, and what else should we be looking for on the linebacker level tomorrow?
Yeah, well, look, I know your cohort Logan Paulson is a fan of Dominique Hampton, and we didn't see much of him last year. Basically, it was kind of a redshirt season, but he's one of these guys. He's this hybrid linebacker, safety, big for a safety, a little bit lighter for a linebacker, but he can move and hit. Well, let's see him get out there and see if he's a guy that can actually contribute to the team this year. But then there's Medrano, who they brought in. They drafted him as a 6th-round pick. He was the fastest linebacker at the combine. Special teams probably makes him a fairly safe bet to make the team, but he started to make more plays on defense the last few practices. And, I think he's got pretty good instincts. The rep is that he's got to work on his tackling, but it seems like he has a good feel of where to go. So I'm with you. It would be exciting to see those two guys. And, look, frankly, I don't know that either of them, and also no Jordan McGee, who didn't make the trip with an injury. Quinn said none of the guys who were stayed back are significant injuries he doesn't believe, but this is also where Jordan McGee was a year ago, where injury in the preseason kind of derailed his year. I'm not going to assume that everything's okay. Hopefully it will be, but if not, then one of these other guys is probably going to have to fill in a significant amount. So yeah, it's a good opportunity for these guys to show what they can do in a situation where they're going to have to play a lot because of older guys or guys that are hurt.
How has McGee looked, by the way, in camp? We know that they had big plans for him. Like, what did those plans look like, and how has he looked in them?
Yeah, I think he's looked fine. The athleticism is obvious, good size. Again, just like how the run game is hard to evaluate in camp because there's no tackling for the most part, and not every day it's with pads. McGee's specific role on defense is to be, it sounds like they want to use him a lot when teams go with 2 and 3 tight ends and, want to run the ball. Last year, Washington used nickel packages more than any team in the league, and that makes them undersized against the run. So McGee against the run is something I think I definitely want to see. We need to see a bigger sample size of that. But, when he's out there, his ability to move, the athleticism, all that really stands out. I know they also talked about, he's too big for most running backs to deal with on the blitz situation. So there's a lot of ways to use him. But as we know, availability is the best asset you can have. And right now it's been a little bit of a hiccup so far. That
was a good remix, Ben, to not use the classic version of the cliche. I thought you were just going to go for it.
You got to shake it up. I got to have a new clip for Anthony, so I got to say some different things here.
Hey, that's a man who's thinking. That's a man who's thinking strategically. Anthony, is there anything from this particular hit with Ben that you feel like is really, really good open material?
I think I can mess around with some stuff.
Okay. Ben, does the phrase "I'm going to mess around with some stuff" terrify you?
100% in this AI deepfake era. I don't know what's real and fake anymore. So yeah, it's very concerned.
For real, you can go and search The Last Man Standig, and you will find Ben Standig's Substack, where you can get all of his Commanders coverage. Do that. Support Ben and the journalism that he is doing, breaking stories, providing analysis, the whole deal, audio, video, podcasts, the whole thing there on Substack. Ben, best of luck as you continue to grow that. I know it's going great so far. Would love to see that continue to succeed for you, and it's a pleasure always having you on the show, dude.
Guys, always appreciate it. Talk soon.
All right, that's Ben Standig, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. He's very smart. Coming up next, something that's occasionally very, very dumb. It is time, what an introduction, for Never Read the Comments next. This here is the Hoffman Show. It's on the Team 980, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, where you can stream us at the Team 980. Coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, John Keim. Yeah, that guy. Johnny Cakes. Johnny Cakes' Keim version, not Johnny Cakes Auville, not the Junkies version. He is going to, well, he did join Take Command this morning, fresh off of his flight back from New England, where he was at joint practice. So you will hear just some of that conversation, because we talked for so long that the whole thing's not fit for radio. It's not like the content was inappropriate, Anthony. It's not like Cakes was swearing up a storm. It's just we have time constrictions on the radio that we don't have on the podcast. So if people want the full length, they can listen to the podcast.
Was Keim long-winded, or did you guys just have a lot to get to?
Why? Porque no los dos. John, I love John. He's thorough. I will say that. John is a reporter's reporter. That man is thorough. That man is thorough. Sometimes as a question asker, I will man, it's been a while since I said something. But I'm never, as a listener, like, oh, I wish he would stop talking. Those two things can be true. So we will get into our conversation with Cakes from Take Command coming up at 6:15 today. Right now, though, Anthony, we have not done this in a while.
A long while, man.
I literally cannot remember the last time you hit this magical button.
We tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
Yeah!
Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
All right, let's get to it, shall we? Let's read some comments. And we have two big topics this week. We have the Commanders' secondary, and Joe Witt saying nice things about it and people responding before and after the joint practice, where things reportedly didn't go quite as well as they had been going in Ashburn. And then we have the Terry McLaurin contract. Terry. We start off, though, Anthony, remember, we do an amuse-bouche. We just get the palate warmed up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And this seems like an innocuous comment. Just a nice comment, actually. Talking, I think this was on our chat yesterday with Joel Corey, the CBS Sports analyst and former NFL agent who is the best contract analyst in the game. We talked to him about a whole bunch of detailed stuff with the McLaurin negotiations, and he was great. And it said, like this insight, thanks for getting away from the pure speculative drama that's all over social media on this topic. And to that comment, I say, you're welcome. You know who I say it to, Anthony?
Who?
Pete's Monkey Trousers.
Wow, man, these names, man.
I just wanted to, that's honestly why I did that. People are like, oh, cool, thanks. Way to start off with a self-congratulatory comment. Nope, that's not why I picked this one. Pete's Monkey Trousers could have said about anything, and I'd want to read a comment from Pete's Monkey Trousers. Yeah. So Pete's Monkey Trousers, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Just
I gotta look those up.
Just for you. What, do you think there's something called Pete's Monkey Trousers?
Hey,
now I'm interested. Anthony, Google away. Just be careful. It's a work computer.
Yeah, I didn't find much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just his handle.
Yeah.
Pete, or your
Prada.
monkey trousers? We need a story.
Yeah.
This one's from the Red Squirrel. This we're reading because of substance, not because of the name, although the Red Squirrel is a pretty good one. The Red Squirrel _ Anthony, not to be confused with the other Red Squirrels. Talking about the Commanders' secondary, and specifically the corner position. This is in response to our pick 6 the other day, where Joe Witt is pretty encouraged by what he sees. He's a coach. He's never happy, but I thought this was a great perspective. He says, or she, the Red Squirrel, could be a she. We started last season with Forbes, Davis, and Juice. Now, Lattimore, Mike, and Amos. Huge difference. And man, when you put it that way, that is relevant. Last year, we were holding on to the hope that Emmanuel Forbes would not be terrible, that Benjamin St. Juice could take his really good snaps that were real and that he had and have them be all the time, or at least way more often. And we saw that just in clutch moments again and again, he just goofed. And then we're hoping that the early returns that we saw in training camp from Michael Davis were not what he was going to be. And that's basically what he was. So I think this year the hope is that, okay, Sanders still, we know it's not going to be amazing every single day in the slot in the NFL because that's the nature of slot, but like we think it can be pretty good. And I think the thing with Sanders still, especially this year, like he'll be more solid and more consistent as the years go because he's a young player still in the NFL and he barely played any slot last year. But I think because Mikey has a propensity to turn the football over so much, whatever struggles he might have, and he did have them yesterday with Demario Douglas, who's an excellent slot receiver for New England, where he gives up some yards, he'll not only make it up later with incompletions and, bat a pretty good percentage, I think he's going to be a high home run hitter. And if he can get 5-6 interceptions on the year, a couple other punch outs, play well in the run game, like that's an excellent season in year 2 for Mike Sanders still.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the, positives I took away from yesterday's practice. Like, he might have gotten beaten by, Mac. He might have gotten beat by Pop Douglas. But guess what he also did? When he had an opportunity to get an interception, he came down with the ball. And I think takeaways are very important. And Joe Witt and what Dan Quinn and them did in Dallas, I think we're going to slowly but surely see that matriculate with this group.
No doubt about it. Lattimore obviously still finding his footing, but like athletically looks back. It's now just fine-tuning the timing, which is exactly what training camp is for. That's not a criticism. It's just a fact. Mm-hmm. We'll see if he can get it done by week 1. That's a TBD. And then obviously Trey Amos has been, I think, the star of the secondary in training camp. So very excited to see that. Manny Marr says, this is exactly what I needed to hear, talking about Joe Witt and what he had to say and what I had to say about what Joe Witt had to say. Lots of saying. I know our boys are going to surprise a lot of people this year. A lot of lockdown coming up. Of course, that was right before the joint practice where a lot of people said that the Patriots offense got the better of the Commanders defense. And that also goes into our next comment from Jakery1057. This was on our chat with Mitch Tischler yesterday where he was very positive about how the Commanders performed. And Jake says, it's funny that Boston media is stating Patriots offense was the best out of the 4 units. Pat's offense, Pat's defense, Commanders offense, Commanders defense. Best out of the 4, as Daniels dinked and dunked to Ertz and never threw downfield, as the Patriots in May hit a lot more explosive plays and air yards at a high percentage. I guess the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's a glorified practice and a little ways from live fire. We shall see soon enough. And I think that's fair, right? Like, no doubt the numbers are there that like Drake May went, I think 10 of 12 in team drills and he had a couple of drops. So like he was on point and there were guys open and available and he made plays, but also that 10 of 12 might've actually been 8 of 10 or 6 of 10. Like if there had been pressure that was allowed to actually hit him and the pass rush was more real, like we just don't know. And so that's why I think the who wins practice thing is definitely a little bit overrated, Anthony. I understand why people do it. In sports, we're looking for winners and losers. In storytelling, we're looking for heroes and villains. And it's not very fun to get on the radio or to be a guest and call in and say, there's a lot of nuance here. There's no clear winner. They're not even keeping score. Both sides on some level accomplish what they want to. And I'm not saying that and that's why I think this comment is actually correct, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle. The Boston folks who were seeing it through Patriots colored glasses and seeing the good things the Patriots did, those were real. But also I think, folks like Mitch who were like, the Commanders had a pretty freaking good day yesterday. I think there's a lot of truth into what they're saying as well.
Yeah, when you were out and Doc was in, I was going to camp every day, being his eyes, his ears, his boots on the ground. And he used to get so upset with me talking about, the Commanders offense won today or the Commanders defense won today. He's like, dude, it's practice, no pass. Like, it's pointless for real.
Right.
So
they executed at a higher level.
Yeah,
okay, fine. And I think early on in camp, it was definitive and declarative enough between the Commanders offense and defense that the Commanders defense did win some days. And look, watching Hard Knocks last night, Thurman Thomas is at Bills camp and he breaks down the huddle, the Bills legend. And he's like, first thing, that's defense 1, offense 0. And you're like, damn, Thurman. So players do it too. Former players, current players, it's not like we just make this stuff up in the media for funsies. But I think if your goal is to understand what's happening, not just keep an arbitrary score that doesn't matter because they don't keep records in August. And they certainly don't give you wins or losses for your offense or your defense winning or losing against each other, nevertheless, or a joint practice. But if you want the understanding to be able to take the good, the bad, put it in context of the situation, what's the drill, how is it designed, should the offense win, should the defense win, did someone overcome that? Like, that's how you really learn about the game this time of year and try to make educated guesses on what could happen. But then again, you know, if you watch Logan Paulson and Ryan Kerrigan go head-to-head every day in Commanders camp, you would have thought Logan Paulson was an all-star tight end and Ryan Kerrigan was a schlub. Because Logan, over years of practicing against Ryan, just like figured out how to block him. And there's only so much you can do. Then Ryan Kerrigan would go out and get double-digit sacks against everybody else because other guys didn't play Ryan Kerrigan every week. So, like, sometimes it's just weird matchups in training camp. There's only so much you can read into it. But this is why the joint practices are so valuable to play against someone else because, you know, Logan, and I use that example because we talked about it specifically on Take Command. Logan's job wasn't to learn how to block Ryan Kerrigan. Logan's job was to learn how to block. And so getting exposure to different players on your team, and then once you run out of those, getting some on other teams in joint practices and in preseason games, like, that's really valuable stuff. All right. On to the Terry McLaurin of it all. Quint OG-X2F. Not nearly as fun to say as Pete's monkey trousers. Quint OG-X2F says, I agree with you that we need Terry and we probably don't go as far without him. However, we must trust AP to do the right thing here. Personally, I don't want my emotional reasoning involved with this deal. Plus, we really have no idea what Terry is really asking for. These reports seem suspect. I like this comment a lot because I think it's mostly correct. We don't know what Terry's asking for. We don't know what the team is offering. We know, for instance, Jeremy Fowler said today they are about $7 million apart, which will take many minutes to resolve. $7 million apart, somewhere in the 25-ish range probably for the team, and somewhere in the 32-ish range by doing the math. That's $7 million. Looking at what else Jeremy said and what else has been out there, my guess is that's kind of where they are right now. Terry's side is asking somewhere between 32 and 34. The team is offering somewhere between 25 and 28. And depending on who's at, Terry's side, all of those numbers are out of range. Team side, once you get to the 28 number, now I feel like we can start realistically saying like they're in a place where a deal could get done. The one part that I, on a baby amount, disagree with, and I'm wrestling with this a lot right now, because I am such a big fan of Terry, and so are they, just to be clear. But if you preach that character and work ethic and going about your business the right way, treating people right, all that stuff matters to you as an organization, not just because it makes people feel good at work, which is valuable and helps create a better work environment that produces better results, but because it produces better results, it directly leads to winning. Like, that has value to winning football games, nevertheless, emotional value, right? If you think that matters, then don't you have to reward that on some level? And then the other thing that I just don't know, because I don't know enough about how their analytics work and how their data sets factor and what numbers they're looking at to make their arguments, is how much are you factoring in what he does for everyone else coverage-wise? Because I do think that there is, and this is obviously not the emotional part, which is what Quint's comment had. And so when he says, I don't want my emotional reasoning involved with this deal, like, I do think there has to be some. It's just really hard to put a dollar value on that. You don't get a good guy bonus or a good guy bump that's the same for every player, but like, you'd have to make a human decision to say, like, I'm not going to mess with this guy too much because he's the heart and soul of our team. But on the other side of it, like, is it just purely catches, yards, touchdowns? Like, I think that's an oversimplification of the data that the team is using because they're a smart front office. My guess is there's some numbers that would probably be good for Terry of, for instance, Jaden's QBR or whatever stat they use when Terry's on the field versus not. Like, those are really important data points as well because it paints a larger picture of the effect that the player has on the team as opposed to just purely fantasy stats and counting stats. So I would be curious to know what kind of factors are in their equations, if you will, and how they then reach the conclusions. We'll never get that information. Zero shot that is ever publicly available. But it is the kind of thing that I do wonder about, Anthony.
No, it definitely is something curious, and I'm curious about whether or not the deal that Mike Evans has with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also affects what's happening with Terry, because
No doubt it does.
You look at a guy like Mike, who's he's on a 2-year, $41 million deal. Like, that doesn't help Terry at all. But guess what? He's also been a model citizen for that organization. He's one of the faces of that organization, and this is what they paid him. So why would we, pay you all this extra money that you're trying to demand?
Right, and like respectfully to Terry, who I think is a Ring of Fame guy here in DC, Mike Evans is a Hall of Fame guy.
Yeah.
Like, Mike Evans is absolutely a Hall of Fame player. Now, I think the argument can certainly be made that Mike Evans is 2 years older than Terry. So he signed that extension this offseason. He is actively, or actually, no, sorry, he's 1 year and change older than Terry. So Mike was 30 at the age of, no, I apologize. He's 2 years older. So he turns 32 in August on the 21st. So he signed that extension at the age of 31, entering his age 32 season. Terry is still 29 now. By week 2 or 3 in the season, his birthday is mid-September, he will be 30. So he's entering his age 30 season. So for Evans to get $21 million in new money in his age 32 season, if I'm Terry's agent, I'm like, yeah, of course he got less because he's 2 years older. You want to talk about what Terry's number is going to be 2 years from now? Okay, but like, it's not 2 years from now. It's now. And you look at Mike Evans' last 2 years, where he's been over 1,000 each year, and helped them be a really freaking good offense with Baker Mayfield at the helm. Then, like, let's look at what Mike Evans should have been making then. And that's a number that I would want for my client if I'm Terry's agent. I think the number that crushes him is the Courtland Sutton number. And Terry's better than Courtland Sutton. But is he $7 million a year better? And if Sutton's getting 23, is Terry then 30? Like, that's a harder argument to make.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I think, like, the DK number's messing it up for the team. I think the Sutton number's kind of messing it up for Terry. James Robinson, 8623 says, hey, and this was in response. We did a segment where I actually built a contract that I thought was actually kind of fair to everybody, and did it in Spotrack's contract management tool. But James said, hey, great idea, but I wanted to definitely correct you on something that Terry is not going to lack, and his production is not going to change when he's 33. And the reason is because Terry McLaurin is not your average guy. He's not going to be your average 30-year-old receiver. He came to the league, I think, when he was 20 or 19 years of age, and he's not banged up like these old dudes that came out of his draft. But all computer dictates that when a man turned 33 or in his 30s, he's going to be a lack of production. But this case is totally different. One, no, he came in as an older player. What you're trying to say in making the Terry first argument is that he didn't actually play a ton his first couple of years at Ohio State, and thus he's going to be fresher. And that is an argument. The general point James tries to make here is one that you can try to make. The problem is you can't guarantee it, and you can't give out a contract on vibes, which leads us to, I think, this next group of comments, Anthony, which is where we'll more or less wrap up. From Brittany, who commented on that same thing where I built a contract out that I thought was fair to both sides. Brittany says, this is depressing AF because why isn't AP doing this? After this breakdown, I'm even more upset. Steve says, what happened to that contract guru we had? I think his name was Sosna, talking about Ben Sosna, the contract guru who is in the Commander's front office. Or St. Wah says, if we're that simple, the deal would have been done since March. The real question that needs to be asked is why didn't Terry force an extension last season instead of this season? Was his reluctancy because of possible QB play? That's the real issue because age wouldn't be such a big comp/conversation. I think what all of these comments have in common is they don't take into effect that it takes two sides to agree to a deal. Like, you can't just say, why didn't Terry do it last year? One, he would have been trying to negotiate a longer extension, and he had 2 years of money left. So the Commanders just be like, we're not doing an extension with you now. Please go back to the practice field. Get out of my office. So, like, you can't just force your way into something. What was he going to do? Hold out with 2 years remaining? He has zero leverage. Okay, buddy, sit out. Like, we don't care. Like, what do you think you're doing? Who are you? You're not. This is not the Terry McLaurin we're about. Like, Terry's also not a diva like that. Now, in entering the final year with no guaranteed money remaining beyond this, that's when you want the extension, because you want to strike while the iron's somewhat hot. And in his case, very hot, because he's coming off a career year. And then you talk about, like, and I responded to Brittany, and she was like, that's a good point. Why isn't AP doing this? He might be. We don't know. Like, that's the thing. And then, Benjamin Sosna, yes, he's a contract guru in terms of making things work with the cap, and like he'll finesse and massage the numbers to make it as team friendly as possible on the cap side of it, while Terry and his agent are still happy with the cash flow. But he can't, his magic wand is with like computer spreadsheets and moving money around in different columns, not to make someone, you can't bop Terry on the head with a magic wand to make him agree to a deal. So like, if you're just pay the guy, or you're, Terry needs to stop asking for so much. You don't know what the contract offers are right now. And it takes two sides to agree. And if you want to be smart talking about this stuff, I know that's not a very exciting place to be, but that's the accurate place to be. All right. Last but not least, Anthony, real quick. Fun times at the end. A dessert bringing us all the way back around. Remember, like months, at this point, maybe a year ago, we had that meeting with CK, our boss, and he told us I can't use the phrase bottom of the hour anymore because no one knows what it means. And then we did a segment on it. Well, M. Hager7 found that segment and said, Google brought me here. I just used bottom of the hour with my work team, and I was dumbfounded that nobody knew what it meant. So I think that's a point for CK, but M. Hager's on my team, bottom of the hour, when this segment started at 5:30, because it's the bottom of a clock, 12:06. Anyway, I still think that argument is unresolved.
Bottom of the hour, top of the hour.
I don't say it anymore. Or if I do, I immediately catch myself and correct it or clarify what it means so the audience knows. So, for instance, at the top of the hour, when we get back at 6 o'clock, we'll talk about the Hard Knocks last night. Bill's episode 1 is out. We both watched it. And plus, what can we look ahead for as we are refreshed on the beauty of Hard Knocks when the Commanders are featured as part of the NFC East later in the season. Then coming up at 6:15, which is quarter past for those that are keeping track, we will hit you with some of John Keim's thoughts from yesterday's practice from Take Command. That's Never Read the Comments here on The Hoffman Show. always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. Craig Hoffman with you, Anthony Haney alongside as well, of course, producer of the show. And Anthony, I will say there's some real good potential, real things, content out there on the internet, thanks to the fact that the Patriots and Commanders social teams worked together at practices.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Some collaboration, some good stuff that I think even Vrabel got in on. So excited! I just passed one that I didn't get a chance to listen to with the sound on yet. But they were like, which landmark is in New England, which one is in DC. So that feels like it could be a fun one. I don't know if it'll work in audio form, but I do think that's probably a fun one. So shout out to the Commanders and Patriots for some fun ideas on their Instagram pages. I'm sure they're on other social medias as well. I just happen to see it on Instagram. All right. Last night, speaking of high-quality NFL programming, NFL Network's, HBO's Hard Knocks, NFL Films is involved there. Debuted Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, which means I watched it actually this morning. We were going to watch it last night and then got sidetracked. And so watched it this morning, Anthony. And classic Hard Knocks, man. You get like the Josh Allen in episode 1 is there with the Bills. And then the big talking point coming out of it is that the Bills are one of 5 teams that still go away to a college for training camp. The Commanders never even, they haven't been to a college since they were in like Frostburg State back in the day, which is something John Keim apparently remembers. Cakes was there back in the day. Yeah, he's been covering the team a long time, bro. Like literally, I think longer than you've been alive, which is amazing because he's only 22 years old. John Keim.
Nice.
Yeah. By the way, Keim, you'll be hearing from him in about 10 minutes here on the show. And also, ironically, I drove through Frostburg on our way to Ohio when we went out there. So I was like, if this was 25 years ago, I might have been here for work, although I wasn't working here yet. Anyway, the point is, Anthony, the Commanders, they did the Richmond bit. There's other teams that have done stuff like that where it's like, we'll go and we'll stay in like a different city that's nearby. The Saints forever went to the Greenbrier in West Virginia, but they were up there at that super duper nice resort. So that's a way to do it. I do think there is something to like going away for camp. But like what was I think great about like when the Commanders did it in Richmond or like the Bills do it in Rochester, which is, how would you say 75 miles from Buffalo? Put our Central and Western New York knowledge from our Syracuse days to the test here. It's like 75 miles from Buffalo. You can get home quickly. So when players have an off day, they can go home, they can see their families. And like I think that's important too. Yes, this is a job. You're paid a whole lot of money if you make the team and you're a veteran especially. But even if you make the team on a rookie salary, like an $800,000 contract or something like that is nothing to sneeze at in real world money. But these are grown adults. Like the idea that you just get to take them away and do whatever you want with them for training camp, like that's a little ridiculous. Just be like, hey, you're a multi-millionaire who, by the way, your body is your meal ticket. And we're going to push 2 beds together in a dorm because you're an enormous person and you can't actually fit in a singular twin bed. And that's where we're going to have you do your most important prep for the season. I understand the nostalgia. I understand the team bonding elements. Like, I do think it's not a clean positive or negative. I'm just good with dudes sleeping in their own beds for training camp. And, we can spend quality time in the building together and find ways to bond outside of being stuck at some, state university.
Quick question, Craig. Can you name the 5 teams that hold their training camps away from their home facilities?
Okay, so this is just teams that do it away, period.
Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6.
Okay. Well, the one that was probably not in the stat that's going around would be the Dallas Cowboys because they don't go to a university. I don't think they have like a facility in Oxnard, California.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, still do camp at a college somewhere in Missouri.
Yep.
The Bills, obviously. Now's where this gets funky. I'm going through in my head, ticking off teams, something I guess I could do out loud. Vegas just does it their facility, right? The Raiders, they don't go anywhere.
Nope.
Arizona?
Nope.
Dang.
I'll give you the division.
Okay.
One team is in the AFC South, one team is in the AFC North, and one team is in the
one at
NFC.
a time. AFC South. Do the Texans go somewhere?
Nope.
Your Colts don't go anywhere.
So this is news to me because I know Zaire always goes to a hotel. I just don't know how far the hotel is from his actual crib. But yes, they go away.
Okay, so maybe that's it. Maybe they just like do the hotel kind of like the Commanders used to do in Richmond. Okay, what was the next one? AFC North?
AFC North.
Cincinnati's too cheap to do it. Pittsburgh goes away.
Yep.
They're in Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
My good friend Brooke Pryor's. There's some ice cream shop called Millie's that she is posting from frequently. Okay, and then there's one more.
Yeah, the last team is an NFC West. Yeah, NFC West.
NFC West. The Niners, I think, do it at their facility. The Rams technically do it at a college.
They do.
But
Yo, you're good at this, man. I would have never guessed any of this.
Yeah, the Rams do it. Like, they're also not that far from Oxnard, which Oxnard is just like a suburb of LA, so like it makes sense. But they're not too far away. Yeah. But my question for the Rams is like, isn't that the Rams facility full time, or at least maybe it used to be, and now they have like at SoFi they have their actual deal. I don't know. But they were at I've been there. That's the reason I know. It was like when the Rams first moved to LA, and it was 2017, which wasn't their first year in LA. It was their second year in LA. But Sean's first year, Commanders played them. I went out early to do a story on McVay, and I had to go to practice on Friday to get some time with him, and that was that. So I went to the actual facility, which is interesting because like I was, like when you go out to practice during the regular season, you can like watch warm-ups and then they take you back inside. I wasn't even allowed to watch warm-ups because I was a visiting press, and I was like, the NFL really thinks they're guarding state secrets. That's very silly, but okay, fine. I'll sit in this room and wait, and then Sean will come in and be like, "Hey, I know you." And got some time to catch up with McVay, which was good. It was a long time ago. And then I saw Jared Goff throw footballs in the Coliseum in a game that I think Washington lost late. Maybe they won late. I don't remember. It was 2017. It was a long time ago. Yeah. These are the things at the time. You're like, I'll never forget that game. And then you forget it. Anyway, the Bills' Hard Knocks was good. Josh Allen is endlessly likable. I'm excited for the Commanders to be on it later in the year with the NFC East. And that's our Hard Knocks recap.
One thing, Deion Dawkins drifting.
Yeah,
dude,
with his kids.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's
scary.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
Yeah,
and especially when there's like other cars out there drifting. I don't know that he was doing the other cars with his kids. That's especially a no. But that's risky. The scooters bit was hilarious.
Yeah,
especially the one dude who got the wrong scooter. Yeah, and then also, dude with the snake. Get out of here. I
want no parts.
We don't need to go hunting snakes in the Florida Everglades.
Yeah, I want no parts, sir.
No, thanks. Leave that to the professionals or just no one. I guess they're an invasive species, so there's probably someone that needs to get rid of them. But Jesus, when it snapped at the camera, no thanks. No thanks. All right. That's our Hard Knocks recap. Good thing we got those two things in. When we get back, John Keim on the Commanders-Patriots joint practice. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the team at 980. We are streaming on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and you can watch us on YouTube as well at the team 980. Right now, it is time to get some take command action for you. John Keim joined us earlier today on the most recent edition of the show, fresh off of his trip to New England for joint practice. This is going to be just part of our conversation. For the full thing, subscribe to Take Command. But without further ado, me, Logan, Cakes, talking joint practice here on the Hoffman Show. John, when you think about what you saw yesterday, you're flying back home last night, wake up this morning thinking about what you want to write about. What's the biggest takeaway you had from that joint practice yesterday in New England?
Okay, so biggest takeaway, I don't know if it's a surprise to say that they kind of need Terry McLaurin on the field. And not only Terry, but Noah Brown as well. Two guys who can make plays on the outside. But that's what we've seen throughout training camp practice. Like the receivers, are they getting enough separation down the field? Can they make plays down the field, because you need that to open up other areas for Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel. And Zach Ertz has had a really good camp and looked really good again the other day. I think the other thing too, Craig, was the defense. And you always take these things with a grain of salt, because like, what are they trying to work on? How many of their pressures are they really showing? But they didn't produce the way I thought they would, given how we've seen them play in training camp. And you never know. And Logan, you know this, like sometimes the way you play in camp, like you don't know, why are you looking so good? Is it what you're doing? Is it what they're doing or not doing? But I think that's one area where I felt like I was a little bit surprised that they weren't a little bit better, because I still think they're going to be pretty good on defense this year. But this is the hard part to know, is what were they working on and what were they trying to do with their pressures, how much they hold back. But of course, both teams hold back. So,
Yeah. Do you think the stuff with the defense was more matchup related? Obviously they've got different kind of caliber receiver over there. Like, how did the kind of one-on-one, man-to-man matchups go? Because again, the defense has been stellar so far in training.
Right, and I think that's part of it too. Like, for example, I felt like Trey Amos was still really good. Now there was one time where guy gets open in the back of the end zone, May misses him, but it was really more of a extended play, right? So he just lost sight of his guy, little takes it to the middle, cuts back outside. But he matched up a couple times against Stephon Diggs. And I really liked what I saw. Like there was one time they're trying to throw a fade to him in the end zone. The thing I love about Amos is how patient he is, the patient feet. He does not open up before you make your move, right? But it's also the two-hand jam into Diggs really disrupted the play. And May throws to him, but he's got no chance because the play was disrupted because of Amos. That's the kind of stuff I love to see out there, right? And then he also, the next play, takes him away too on a similar route, and just a nice job. So those are the one-on-one matchups you watch. Like Mikey Samerso gave up some things on some crossers. That was a little surprising, but because he's been very sharp throughout the summer. And I thought some of the one-on-ones up front, like this is where it's hard. The hard part, as you know, is like when you're watching a game, you can go back and rewind and rewind and rewind. And sometimes, like, you do this, coaches do this. It's hard to always know live, why did this play not work? Who did what? Like there was one time where May takes it up the middle in a red zone drill. There's a 4-man rush. Well, it looks like the tackle, Javon Kinlaw, just gets way upfield and it creates a gap in the middle, right? So there's an easy gap for him to run through. Was it something that was it supposed to be the end coming through and replacing? I don't know. Like those are the things you see, but you don't know. You know the what happened, but you don't always know the why. And but sometimes with like that's where you see it in the matchup with the coverages, and then but you still see, like, even in some of the one-on-ones, like I felt like Josh Connolly was better than he had looked in training camp. And there were a couple times that Harold Landry got him inside, but overall I felt like he seemed pretty solid. Laramie Tunsil, really, really good, as you would expect. So, and I think the offensive line.
Right, no kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how about that? A shocking that a 5-time Pro Bowler was pretty good. But, like people always wonder, like, why was he traded? Was he starting? No. And he's really good. And the other thing with the offensive line, and you have, Wiley's going in at left guard. Well, that's Brandon Coleman's spot. That's where he's been working at. Wiley has kind of been bouncing around from every tackle to guard spots. Then you have Allegretti at right guard. Well, eventually it's Sam Cosmi, and you have a rookie right tackle. How long will it take that group to really, to me, I think you could look at the second half of the season and say that group could be really strong at that point because you're going to get more time together. Rookie gets acclimated, Cosmi back in. Then you start to hit your stride down the stretch. Like that is kind of what I'm anticipating. So the fact that they were up and down wasn't surprising to me because of all that.
Yeah. The secondary piece of it, I think that you hear the kind of headline level talk about it. And it's like, well, all of a sudden they faced a different opponent and it didn't go so great. And you have these like horrid 2023 flashbacks of the Ravens joint practice where you realize, oh God, the reason the defense has looked okay so far in camp is because the offense is actually brutal. And considering the no Noah, no Terry for a lot of camp, you have to wonder, like, has the defense been dominant because the receiver caliber they're facing is just not very good? Then you have to remind yourself it's only one day. Like, let's settle down a little bit. Like, let's not jump to conclusions.
You don't really prep for that. That's the other thing just to point out is like, in a game, you'd kind of understand like, oh, this is what Stephon likes to do. This is the route concept I'm going to match. And you kind of go in blind. And we didn't talk about this earlier, but that was another reason I didn't like joint practice because you didn't have a lot of you didn't have like normal kind of game plan stuff. So I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I do think there's always kind of a tough joint practice.
Right. So ultimately the question, John, is like, what do you make of the fact that they did face a higher caliber of juice at receiver? Still, it's not Jaden, but Drake May is a good quarterback, and the defense had the secondary, had one of its worst days that it's had.
Yeah, and listen, it's just like what Logan said. Like, I think you guys know me enough by now. Like, I don't overreact to good or bad, right? You don't, because it's one piece of the puzzle. It's one part of your preparation. So you don't want to I don't like to extrapolate too much from this. You take it like, okay, this is what we saw today. How does it match up with what we saw the first few weeks of training camp? And then how does that compute, right? And I think that's why I say defensively, we saw really good stuff. But I think just like you guys would say, okay, what does this mean, right? We don't know yet. But I will say, like, I have confidence that Mikey Samerstill will have a good season. And Trey Amos was really good. Like, the question there would be Marshawn Lattimore. And talking to him after the practice, one of the things that he definitely feels like he has his burst back, and they feel like he's moving very well. Like, in talking to multiple people, like, now, of course, you want to see that, and maybe that's sometimes you see what you want to see, but I do think he's moving better. The question, though, is the timing of his game, right? So he talked about, because he hasn't played a lot over the last few years, is getting that footwork to be more consistent on a down-to-down basis, which then allows you to be more consistent. He did give up. May threw a nice back shoulder against him that resulted in a touchdown, good throw. But but this is where not having McLaurin, Noah Brown in practice, where you're not seeing them match up against guys who are top. Now, Debo, you see it, right? Like, but Debo's a different dude. He's not he's not like A.J. Brown. He's Debo. He's different. But you can't match up. But you want to see him match up against a Terry McLaurin to see where is his game at now and give him a better sense of it too. And same thing with even Noah. I mean, Noah's not a number one receiver. We know that. But he was having a good year last year. He's been productive last couple of years outside of the injuries. But he's a legit NFL receiver. So, like, that's the stuff you're not able to really watch in practice. You see it. And in some cases, maybe that's a good thing. So now you're going back and say, okay, don't be fooled by. Like, this is the memory from this practice. Not that you go crazy with it, but don't be fooled by the other stuff too. Like, hey, don't forget, like, don't get lazy here with this. Don't get sucked in thinking this because of what's going on here. And that's not like, I think this receiver core, when those other guys are here, there's more depth than there was last year. But you're elevating guys to different spots, and then you're covering guys who you may not cover during the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, this may be kind of a personal question, but like, when do you start making conclusions? Is it week 1? Is it week 3? Is it after the preseason? Like, when do you kind of say, this thing that I saw when is now starting to come true here. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do
Right.
you, 'cause I know
No.
you're such a measured person. Like when do you say like it's solidified?
Well, I think it also depends, Logan, too. Are you seeing a steady habit of whatever it is you're seeing? Like, if you're seeing this group not being able to separate, well, to me, that's a problem, right? But again, like you don't have.
But it's been consistent, right? It's been a
consistent. So that if it's consistently happening, then yeah. And then, but with the defense, I do think that they're going to be better. I think they have more ability to be versatile and creative because I think the coverage and what they can do, right? And then I think some of the players they have up front and what they can do. So I think they can be that. I haven't changed my thought on that based on one practice, and I don't think, and here's the other part, Logan, I don't think we're going to know until the season begins because we're not going to see them like the starters in the second preseason game might play 1 or 2 series and they're not playing in the third, but you have that Ravens that joint practice as well. Like that to me is another big measuring stick for the starters. How do they look at that time? What's the O-line look like against that group, right? So I think that's, and the defense, that's a great test for them. So, I think that will be the next big measuring step for me. And, see, okay, do they look different? Is Lattimore, how does he looking, right? And does the line do a little bit more to generate pressure? But that would be the next measuring step for me. And then season begins, now it's week by week measuring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing that's, important to point out and some of the discrepancy here is in 2023, for instance, I didn't have a lot of faith in that staff and those players to once the game planning happened to take a big jump. This time around, it's like, oh no, this staff's pretty good at game planning and this is a smart group of dudes. Like they will adapt, like the gap between practice play and gameplay is probably bigger because of that. So just wanted to stick a pin in that real quick. On the receiver side of it, though, John, without Terry, without Noah, like we said, obviously all eyes are on Luke, on Jalen Lane, on those guys, Strachan, Chris Moore, Jacoby Jones, those guys trying to make the roster at the end. Did anybody stand out in any meaningful way yesterday with the extended reps that they got?
Not really. Ja'Cory Brooks had a nice one-handed catch. They had a nice one-handed catch in the end zone.
There you go.
I did not see it live, and because you're watching these two fields, and it's your eyes go over here, and then you see them jumping up and down over here. Like, all right, what did I miss? But anyways, he had that, but he's not. He's still a long shot to make the roster, right? So and even if he does, he'd be your last receiver. So it's good for him, really good for him. But we're not talking. I'm looking at guys who are going to contribute, and I didn't see that, right? Like the guys who kept jumping out were Zach Ertz, Debo, Austin Eckler. I mean, the guys that what they can do.
Oh, really? Those guys? No way.
Yeah, no.
Look, it's wild. We have John on for extreme insight, and all he tells us is good football players are playing good football.
Exactly.
Keim, come on.
Who
Make
knew
something
that?
up.
Wow,
we need some excitement. We need some pop, baby.
That Ertz guy can play a little bit. So, but I think.
Dude, but in some ways, that's a good story in itself because, what is he, 34? And he looks better this year than he did last year. His ability to consistently win versus man coverage is incredible. So
I've had people tell me that his footwork is better than it was ever. And but I still liken him. I liken him to the 35-year-old basketball player at the Y who's got the knee-high socks.
I love this metaphor.
Yeah. Who has the knee-high socks, but just knows how to play. And the young guys come in, he's got the headband, he maybe has some elbow, pads, whatever, but he knows how to play. He knows how to school the young guys because of his old school moves. I think that's like Zach, he just knows the game so well that he's able to create enough of the separation. And maybe that gets a little bit more yak than he had last year. But I think that's why I think we're still seeing this from him. That's not a mirage.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know that anybody else really, I wouldn't say jumped out, so.
So I guess my question, John, is who's the sixth receiver for you right now? Because a guy that I think is interesting is Strachan because of his movement skills, his size. He seems to make a splash play every day, but also will make a bad drop it's kind of this yin and yang. You see what he can be and you see the bad, and then you're but who's going to fill out that room and kind of make their claim there? Right.
And I think you saw that yesterday, he got open on a deep one and Josh Johnson just underthrew him at his feet. And he now Could he have made the catch? Maybe. It was like down low at his feet, and he was several yards behind the defender. Then I think he had another one that went off his hands. I just don't remember. But
he did have a big play that they put up on social media.
That's
so he
right.
did have
Yeah,
one big catch yesterday too.
That's right. That's right.
But
that's right.
That's every day. That's what he does. Big play.
But I don't know that is that enough for him to get that sixth spot. So I'm still looking at guys like an Osborne or a Gallup because they're veterans, right? And the Chris Moore's. But Chris Moore, to me, has he jumped out? I haven't seen
not since OTAs really.
No, right. And so I think there have been some drops. So I don't see that. But I still look at those veterans starting off, and then and partly too, and this is the other thing too that I like to pay attention to, the special teams units. I love noting who's working on these units and who's in the first group, who's in the second group, because that gives you a lot of clues as to where they might go at any position. So I don't know, Logan. I don't know that anybody separated themselves for that last spot.
And that's the one, because immediately you said Gallup because of his past performance, and he's had flashes in practice for sure. But the one that sticks out, the thing about him is he doesn't do teams work. He doesn't do any teams work.
It's exactly right.
So how's he going to make the roster as your sixth guy if he's not playing teams? So that room for me is really interesting.
I agree.
I think there's some talented guys, some high upside guys, but no one's really made it happen. Right, Craig?
Yeah. Well, and then the question is not just who's wide receiver 6 real quick, John, who's wide receiver 4?
Yeah.
We know who the options are. We know which guys are going to make the team, but they're also competing for minutes and snaps. And so that, who's going to actually meaningfully play, not who's going to be either playing only special teams or inactive every week. That's a more important question.
No, for sure. Well, listen, you look at that, Jalen Lane is your punt returner. So he's going to be on the field, right? And then it's the one thing with Luke McCaffrey that I think, again, the trickle down from not having these other receivers out there is he's working a lot more on the outside. And is that really where he's going to play during the season in a game? Probably not. So, and he can go inside and outside, but has he progressed enough? You're not seeing to the level I think you would want to, given where he was drafted. And so I think there's still some work to do there to see, can he do that? And that's one of the things, again, he's a guy to watch in the preseason. Does he separate in these games? And, maybe he's even going against backups, but that's even more reason to get that separation, right? So I think that's definitely, I agree with that. But we know Jalen Lane will contribute, and they seem to be excited about him. And they're definitely the one thing they talk about, he can run the entire route tree. And that's something they didn't realize. Cliff Kingsbury didn't realize when they got him, because at Virginia Tech, it was a little bit more limiting. But there's still some times too, where you're watching him, when you pay attention to the receivers practice, their portion of practice, and Logan knows I like to watch this because you're right there. And I like to videotape this stuff and then go back and watch it in slow motion. Why does this guy do this? How does this route compare to this one? And there was one route where I'm watching where guys are cutting, but they're cutting on their inside foot on this one particular route. Well, Jalen kept cutting on his outside foot, and Bobby Ingram had to kind of work with him on that. So then it's but those are not that it means that he's not doing well. It just means the details of that are what you're still kind of learning and adapting to, right? So when he gets that, what kind of threat can he be? But I also think he's got that speed. And when you watch him at Virginia Tech, the way they use him horizontally and vertically, he can be a threat in multiple ways. And so, it may be that you try to get him on the field a little bit more. And I don't know yet, but because he can pose a threat with that speed, and you want those explosive plays. But here, the last thing on that, Luke blocks pretty well. So that's another factor in this.
But it's interesting when you talk about Lane, because to me, he's obviously that fourth guy right now. You
I would agree.
Terry, Noah, Debo, he's made the most plays of the next group. And then it really is no one's really asserted themselves. And so that group's really interesting. It's really interesting because
I think Jalen's going to make a nice impact, if nothing else, with that punt return stuff. But and again, watching him there, and you watch it and you know some of this stuff, and you watch it with B. Mitch, and you know that what he sees and what you see is okay, if I'm seeing this and B. Mitch is saying this, then okay, but just watch him, he gets a quicker first step than other guys. He just does, because he's in better position to catch the ball and push off.
When I hang out at practice and watch practice with B. Mitch, I've never been around even special teams coaches who watch returners with such detail.
It's awesome.
Like, he gets so juiced for it, right? Oh, you see his feet, you see his hands, you see how he, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even, and obviously it's very technical. And when you play for 14 years and you're one of the best of all time, like, you're going to notice the details. But B-Mitch, man, gets so fired up.
It's awesome.
That stuff. It's incredible.
I love watching practices with him because but for that reason, and how, he worked with those guys in the spring for that one day, right? And I know he still talks to Jalen about this stuff, and which is, this too, like, everybody always wants the former players to, they should go out there and coach. Not everybody's qualified to do that because they haven't stayed around the game, or they have, but B. Mitch is really good at the details of that position. And that's what I think will separate. But you get that quick first step, you make someone move, now you got a chance. And so I think that's why I say with the receiver, there's sometimes with those little details that you see, but even I agree with you, Logan. I think he's definitely of that group, like between he and Luke and all that, he's jumped out more in that area. And when you have speed, man, you want to tap into that.
Yeah, you got to get those guys in the open field, and obviously they'll find. missed any part of the show today, check it out on the podcast feed. Search The Hoffman Show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. Started off the show reacting to the news from, it's not really news, just what Jeremy Fowler said on Get Up this morning, that Terry McLaurin and the Commanders are $7 million a year apart on the numbers that they are looking at, which puts Terry's side somewhere around 32, probably 32 to 34. Commanders somewhere between 25 and 27 probably is based off of that report combined with others. Where I think this is right now, they probably should meet in the middle at 30 and get Terry McLaurin in camp. That would be cool. But we'll see if one side has to bend farther than the other, and if either side will be bent at all. Does one side extend an olive branch, be like, hey, we'll come a little bit closer? Does that move the other side, even if they have to inch towards some middle? Maybe not the middle, but some middle. You gotta show a willingness to negotiate. Otherwise, you're just okay, would you do this? No. Would you do this? No. And then you're arguing with a toddler and not doing what you have to do as a professional agent and general manager to negotiate a contract. Anything on TV tonight, Anthony? I guess there's a couple preseason games. We interested in any of them?
If Zaire was playing in the Ravens-Colts preseason game, one, I would have gone to the game, but I would have watched it. I'm not watching it.
No Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones fight enough to intrigue you?
You're right. I will be watching that.
Okay. It's something to watch. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of out on it.
Are you going to watch the Eagles tonight?
Who's playing for them?
I don't know.
I don't care. Like, that's the thing is I know some, and again, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. If you're like football and you'll watch anything, like you're also, you're trying to warm up your fixins for the year, and you're going to be the person that watches the Tuesday night MAC game. Like, we're just different people, and I love that you get football. I'm so happy for you. It's just not my deal. I'm very intrigued in the Commanders tomorrow. Like, I want to see Keim Medrano and Dominique Hampton play linebacker tomorrow for the Commanders. Like, I'm pumped about that. And we'll obviously talk a lot about that game all day tomorrow, as it'll be kicking off a half hour after we get off the air. But yeah, I'm kind of out on other teams' preseason games, unless there's if I knew that I could watch Cam Ward for 20 minutes, I'd be in. I'd watch the Titans for 20 minutes to see what Cam Ward can do. That's about the interest I have in other preseasons. All right, I'll watch some highlights back. Maybe I'll watch a little Richardson, Daniel Jones. What happened, but on the front end, I think I have better things I can do with my night. Speaking of better things we can do, real things, real people said in real microphones time.
Real things.
We're not gonna be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
Speaking of the Eagles, they have two of their players, Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean. 5 points if you can figure out what they have in common. They have a podcast. They had Jason Kelsey on it, and they asked a very fun sports talk radio question to Jason Kelsey.
If we lined up the 2017-2018 team against our team last year,
yeah,
to be honest.
I saw you guys ask this to Chris. I think, especially by the time we had been in the Super Bowl, we had already lost our starting quarterback. Jason Peters was out. Darren Sproles was out. And listen, we won, but it took everything we had to beat the Patriots. And you guys beat the team that's been the best team in the NFL for pretty much, Pat Mahomes has been in the conference championship every year of his career. Just finished the seventh season. Yeah. And you guys, it wasn't even close. No. So watching how you guys ended the season, I don't know how you could realistically think that we would beat you guys. But I'll tell you this, just being a competitor, we beat the fuck out of you.
I love it. I was honestly waiting on you to say that.
I was waiting for something. Yeah.
Waiting on it.
So the competitor in you never dies. You'd find a way. That Eagles team last year is one of the best teams in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, that's
legitimately, they should be talked about the way we talk about some of the other great teams in NFL history. Once they got healthy, they just absolutely cooked. Obviously, the Commanders got them the one time, but man, they just absolutely cooked, and that defense is so nasty. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the NFC East, the Giants are trying to figure lots of things out on and off the field. The off-the-field ones are more fun for social media content. Like, how do you term adjusting the air conditioning?
If you want to make it colder,
Do you turn your AC up or down?
You turn it down. I feel like this is an easy question.
Bro, what kind of question is this? Turn it up.
Turn the AC down.
What is wrong with you?
So look, temperature goes up, right?
Bro,
you can turn the fan up. Look, the fan is going to continuously blow, right? Whether the temperature is down or the temperature is up. AC is cold weather.
It's called air conditioning.
Air conditioning.
So you want the air conditioning to go up.
Damn, let me turn the AC down a little bit and get this temperature a little bit lower.
Bro, you turn the AC up, dog. If I want to make it colder, you turn it down. So it'll go from 80 to 75, 75 to 70.
Turn the AC up, temperature goes down. Turn the AC down, temperature goes up.
I'm turning my AC down.
You turn the thermostat down, you turn the AC up.
Read the damn question.
If you want to make it colder, do you turn the AC up or down?
Turn the AC down.
You turn it down, but you turn the switch up. Do you turn the thermostat up or do you turn it down when you go to the thermostat?
That's not the same thing. It's a thermostat, not the air conditioning. No, you're not going to get me with this one.
Turn it down. You're pressing the down for sure.
Turn the temperature down.
Anthony, which one is it for you?
So you're turning the temperature down.
Yes.
So you're turning the AC up.
I agree with that. I think, hey, if you turn the AC up, people know you want to make it colder.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it more complicated. Silly Giants. ACs are for adults. That's our show for today. Anthony will be back on Monday. I'll see y'all tomorrow here on the Team 980.
The Team